mind you, Chris, he also knows this is a hot topic button for me, okay? So here we go.
Walk with us as we escort you to safety, experience, and the adventure of a lifetime.
That's right. It's the Escort quest where we try to get you the adventure of a lifetime and experience and try not to kill you. Because if we get ourselves distracted, we may not see the mob come behind you, okay? So I don't know. Sorry, man. All right. This is a topic, a thing that was put on by Solomon a couple weeks ago. We're going to be dealing with this. Mind you, Chris, he also knows this is a hot topic button for me, okay? So here we go. Do graphics really matter? Because, as he also points out in the question, hey, why is old school RuneScape so popular? Now, for those who don't know me, or who do know me, I'm like, hey, I lived and grew up gaming in the 8-bit era. I do not need to go back to the 8-bit graphics era, okay? So to me, graphics do really matter. Yes, gameplay and story also matter too. A really bad a bad visual game can be fun and still hold my interest. A really good visually game that has bad mechanics will not hold myself. Old school RuneScape is awful, in my opinion. I downloaded it, started playing it. I'm going, this is so bad. I do not need to suffer myself and go back. Okay, there is a God in heaven. He did not torture me with trying to go back to old school RuneScape. Solomon, this was your question. I'm curious to know what you think about this.
Oh man. Man. So I'm not gonna say either yes or wow, or no. I think it's a little bit of both, and here's why. When it comes to strictly, let's just say MMOs, I think it's a obvious no, because what game is still king right now? It's World of Warcraft, and they're still using an engine that's probably older than a lot of the viewers who are watching this right now, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't look visually unappealing. You're right, it has an older engine, but it has been updated. They have updated their models since the beginning. That's why you go to Classic versus Retail, you can see they've updated their models.
But compare that to the modern games, like for example Valhalla that just came out, it's just night and day, you know. So okay, that probably wasn't a fair comparison, because I did strictly earlier I did strictly said only MMOs. But at the same time, again, as you brought up earlier, RuneScape is one of the most popular MMOs of all time right now, second only to World of Warcraft, and that is probably the most 90s graphics game that you'll ever see in your life right now that is still being played. Now, obviously they have people saying that graphics never mattered, and I don't entirely agree with that. It's all about gameplay and story, and I believe that's true to a certain extent, because no matter how beautiful your game looks, if it has crummy story that you don't care any about the characters, and and the gameplay really sucks because it's not working right, or it's just too whatever, then yeah, no one's going to play your game. And I think a lot of Korean games out there, especially Korean MMOs, suffer from that. They go for the big flashy stuff, and with neglecting the other things that really make the game important. So but at the same time, I'm still on board with what Ken said. Like I tried playing old school RuneScape, and again, the same viewer that mentioned about the mini game earlier, his favorite I guess online or MMO of all time is a game called hang on, give me a sec. And actually, SirJahzeal, you actually may have heard this
Meridian?
game before. It's on GOG. It's called what did I say? Oh, it's an EFS, not an MMO. I'm sorry, but even still, this game came
EFS?
out in back in '97.
What's EFS stand for?
Um, hang on, real quick. What's it called? What's it called? What's it called? I'm trying to find the. If you could type in the name again, Stannis, I do appreciate that. I'm trying to scroll back. Oh, Emperor of the Fading Sun. Sorry. Um,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, he still plays that game till this day. And again, if it's a game that came back out in '97, obviously it's not going to have the graphical quality as current games. So so I know this is a cop out answer, but I'm on a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, I lean more towards graphics than anything else, because as technology gets better, as graphic cards gets a lot faster, as evident with the craze of the new 1300 series from Nvidia, and now we got 4K gaming, and then after that we might get 6K and then 8K. If the trend was solely just based on narrative and storyline, I don't think that a lot of these companies will be pushing the graphical envelope, if you will. So I think it's a little bit of both that you need. It's definitely a really good balance that needs to be achieved in order for a game to really be considered a good game. So
Yep.
yeah, I unfortunately I can't think of a game where it's like, oh, the game had really crappy graphics, but it had really good storyline and really good gameplay. Like, I'm pretty sure they're out there, but I can't really think of a game that really fits that description. But you definitely hear a lot of
Yeah.
people saying it had crappy it had crappy gameplay and storyline, but it had really good graphics. Like, I again point to any Korean MMO out there. So
Right. Well, I mean, I remember John Lasseter, who used to be at Pixar. He said they'll forgive you if you make a mistake in your animation if you have a good story. So story comes first. Pixar was always story comes first. But obviously, if they had bad animation, it wouldn't have lasted as long. You know, they had really good animation and they had good story too.
exactly.
They, if it two games were of equal, value, equal worth of mechanics and lore and whatnot, and one had better graphics, I go there. I don't know of one, like you said, that is like bad copy graphics, but it does very well story wise. Except for maybe old school RuneScape. I know that Star Wars: The Old Republic. Well, I love Star Wars. The Old Republic's graphics just have a problem. I have a problem with it. Its animation just it doesn't really entice me. I like the game, like playing the game, but it's just like no. ESO Elder Scrolls Online it's really cool. I just remember running around going, oh my gosh, look at the environment here. Same with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Final Fantasy 14 has beautiful graphics. Okay, it's more of the animation type thing that I'm not as much of a liking of it, but it's beautiful. So for me, graphics do matter. Even like you said, there are those cases where a good game can have crappy graphics and still entice you. So, SirJahzeal, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm gonna probably at some point sound like a hypocrite. But I will start off by saying, do graphics matter? They do matter, but that doesn't necessarily, for me, mean they have to be photorealistic graphics. What I mean by that is, let's take again. There's been a lot of World of Warcraft. Hopefully, we have some World of Warcraft fans watching today, because we've covered a lot of World of Warcraft stuff. And I'm going to bring it up again right now. There are a lot of people, and have been in the past, who I've tried to get to play the game. And besides the fact that there is a monthly subscription, which usually is the first thing that turns people off, and the second thing being they feel like, I just don't have time for an MMO. That seems to be number two, because they've got children and they've got work and they've got real life, and fortunately for me, I don't have much of it. No, I'm not going to go that way. But I have a little bit more time. My kids are growing a little bit older. They can make their own sandwiches for lunch and stuff at this point, and maybe make me one while they're doing that. So, I'm pretty lucky that way. Now, the thing is with World of Warcraft is, yeah, it's not as cool looking as, like Kenneth just mentioned, Elder Scrolls Online, or even Black Desert, or a lot of the more, I wouldn't even call those photorealistic, but they're definitely, you got some more pixels going on there. They're a lot prettier to look at. And again, Solomon's actually absolutely correct, because I've played Blade and Soul back in the day, and a lot of those other Asian, especially the Korean games, and a couple of Japanese ones that have come out over the years that they're just beautiful. The gameplay is something else. But the thing with World of Warcraft, as well as Guild Wars 2, and some of those games, I even go back to Rest in Peace, my favorite WildStar. I, you know, yeah, they're not photorealistic, but they have style. They have atmosphere. They give you that feeling of when you're playing that game, that it couldn't be another game. When you see someone else playing that game, you know what it is. It's part of its identity. World of Warcraft took its inspiration, obviously, from the RTS games, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. And they took that and made it into a 3D world, and they improved on it. They made it look a little bit better, because if they would have just taken that, it would have ended up looking like RuneScape, which maybe that would have made it even more popular. I don't know.
Fair point.
Alternate universe stuff there.
Right.
So I am fine with it. I think it's okay, and I enjoy those graphics. I am like Ken. He's 9 years older than me, but I remember my dad bringing home that little box with the wheel that you would turn, and that's all you had. That was your controller. It was just a wheel that went back and forth to play a game called Pong. Look it up. 2 lines and a ball. And it's not even a ball. It's a little tiny square that goes back and forth.
Yeah, that's all it was. Oh my goodness.
I remember that was a big deal. And then I remember a couple of years later, I part of me thinks it was ColecoVision was the first one he brought home, but like the next year we got the Atari 2600, and I thought, wow, the graphics on this. And then in 1985 we got the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I thought, holy cow, look at these graphics. You look at them now and you go, like Ken was talking about, right?
Yep.
And then Super Nintendo. And then I said, forget Nintendo. There's this PlayStation thing that Sony's putting out now. And I went to that. And then Xbox. Anyway, graphics kept getting better and better. And that was like the selling point and the reason why I wanted to go and get the 360 and why I wanted to go get the Xbox One. And now I'm looking at the new Xbox coming out as well as the PS5. But I can't afford both. So probably go Xbox. But hopefully we don't lose viewers over that. Sorry. But, I love graphics, and I do love stuff that looks smooth and 4K, and I'm a nerd. I'm a tech nerd. I'm really into that stuff. And the whole voxel thing that happened a couple of years ago with being able to have destructible everything was just the coolest idea that I had seen ever. And now we've moved on, and all the ray tracing stuff is super neat, and I just love it. But I'm playing a game that's 16 years old. It's my favorite, and I'm okay with it. Now, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite now when I say this, but I've also been watching those videos. They've been putting them out for a couple of years. There's a couple of guys. There's a guy in Russia. There's an American guy, and I can't remember the other one. I can't remember where he's from. But there's like 3 different guys that have put up World of Warcraft done with the Unreal Engine 4.
Oh yeah, I saw those videos. Those are pretty amazing. What the game could look like in the Unreal Engine.
They look
Grand.
Amazing. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so you saw it too. Amazing. And if Blizzard came out and said, guess what? We're doing World of Warcraft 2 with Unreal Engine. I know I'm going to sound like a hypocrite. I would be right there.
Well, what's interesting is I think one of the reasons why I think World of Warcraft has survived 16 years, with its own old engine. They have refreshed the models. It does look different. At least the models, not the landscape. Is because I think they did it cartoony enough to not be as real that as the years went by, it didn't look like it was getting that old. when I played Classic last year, I was shocked. I'm like, oh, this is Classic, 16 years old. And of course, when I didn't jump into retail, I go, oh, there's a difference. Okay, yeah, I can see the difference now. But I was like, that's still held up. 16 years later, it held up because if it was more realistic, it'd be a lot different. It'd be like, no, you're really behind. As for me, like when you mentioned all those different console systems, I remember the one commercial I saw it more recently. It was like a bass fisherman one. It's so real that you can smell the water. And I'm
I
like,
remember that.
are you serious? Now, mind you, back then it was like every leap up was like, whoa, look at these graphics, and you're like, you look back going, seriously, we thought it was good, yes, but not real. It's still pixel art type stuff. And one thing I think also at least for me, reason why I'm so hesitant about playing old 8-bit games is because the fact that I lived through it. I like you mentioned, evolved from where they started off to what today is. For people who are younger, the millennials or the Zoomers. Well, wait, there's a millennial here. Anyways, is the fact that they didn't live. Well, somewhat millennials probably did. They don't have that. Their baseline is up here. So when they go retro, they're like, oh, retro. For them, it's exciting to go retro. For us, it's like, I put childish things away and I grew up.
Well,
That's why.
The other, I don't know if you guys were ever into like racing games and whatnot, like the Need for Speed games
Played
and
a
all
little
that.
bit, but not a lot.
Uh,
Mario Kart's
but
the best one.
that's another thing that was on YouTube that I'd caught. I don't know, it's been a couple months back, and it was showing the difference in the graphics from the very first one all the way to the latest one that was put out. And I remember playing through some of those thinking, that looks so real. And now I looked at that video and I went, ooh, that was terrible. So, yeah, I guess you're right, man. I guess they do matter.
Well, and it's also, I think, based around also someone's personal flavor. So I joke around. I'm not going to go back. I have played 8-bit games, and I get it and I understand it. And there are some games that have graphics that are older, but they did a pretty good job of taking the older graphics and making it look decent, even though they're old, and the gameplay's fine. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. So, do graphics really matter? Kind of back to what we talked about before, a lot of things. It depends. And as for old school RuneScape, no. I'm not playing it.
Yeah, to answer that, I have no idea, guys.
I think it's classic, and people are still there, and they keep keeping it updated. But then again, why is it more popular than Target to Camelot, or even EverQuest, or even the other older ones that still exist? I don't know.
It's got to be sunk cost fallacy. It has to be.
All right, we have escorted you to safety. Hopefully, of course, you guys decided to got tired of our conversation and moved off somewhere, and you fell off the cliff, and we didn't know it. Sorry about that. There you go. Check out the further adventures of Kennethan by liking and subscribing and watching me live on twitch.tv/Kennethan.